Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target Morning Brief. We have a great show for you today. Taking a look at the debate fallout from last night, as well as the election stocks and kind of which way you can play those. And there we go. And also, what does the FDA approval have to do with the remdesivir, if I'm saying that correctly, the drug from Gilead this morning? So we're going to take a look at those. And today's tickers for the stocks that are primed to outperform if Trump wins. I'm going to throw out CCI and Gilead. And then if the tickers that are primed to do better if Biden wins, Medtronic, AEP, Alibaba, and MJ for the ticker for marijuana. Our day trading scorecard, we're up 4 last week, up 4R. We're down 2R this week. We're going to fix that today if we can find something. And if you want to join us live, again, $25 a month will get you into the room. With that, let's go ahead and get started. All right. Thanks again for checking us out this morning. Make sure that you have your chat window open and your Q&A window open and a call sign put in there. And I see looks like everybody is good to go this morning. Standard disclaimer, this is a financial education presentation. You have to do your own due diligence before you act on anything you hear in today's show. All right, our mission objectives out there for today, Friday, October 23rd. Casual Friday for me. Hopefully it's casual Friday for you. Is to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Our tactical objectives, we're going to talk specifically about the debate last night, the election stocks on who's, which ones are poised to do better depending on who wins, and hopefully there's a clear winner. And then, of course, we'll talk about remdesivir that got FDA approval last night. And the topic today is, what does FDA approval actually mean? So not necessarily an investing topic, but a lot of us invest in these biotechs, and we tend to invest in them quite a bit as far as day trading, as far as the they're in motion a lot based off of FDA type news. So we'll look into that a little bit more. Our flow for today, long, short, open, short, long, which means we're going to do the market review, go around the world, come back to the US, talk about the specific headlines. We'll go into the long-term investments, the 6 tickers that I threw down in there at the bottom. Then we'll get ready at 5 minutes prior to the open. We'll get ready for our day trading scorecard or day trading session. If you look off into the chat, you shall see that we've got 3 long names to look at. Really nothing short is setting up with our criteria. So if you have any ideas, throw a ticker in there and we'll take a look at them real time. Any contingencies out there, reach out to me at steve@ototnow.com and I will get those resolved for you. All right, let's share out TD Ameritrade Think Pipes and we'll go over where we've been for the past year. All right, that's the right chart there. So really cold and pretty strong going into the election, a lot stronger than I thought it would. And we're within, 8 market days, I think 7 maybe. So again, I do expect it to probably drop into this range of 320 to 340, but I don't see it really, wiping out 10% in the next, 8 market days, but it could dropping down to this level. But either way, I think we're going to be fine going into the election, and then we will see what happens right after the election as far as whether it moves the markets or not. There was a pundit on CNBC this morning that was talking about best case, we're going to have a winner by Saturday. So you have the election on Tuesday, and then we don't know who the winner is until Saturday by the time they go through all the votes and everything. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not a big, gigantic mess, but sometimes those things can be like that. Okay, looking at the last 5 days of the market action. So pretty much this week so far, first 3 days have been down. And then yesterday we kind of opened and dropped and then went straight up from there. So pretty good news. And of course, the FDA approval of Gilead's drug remdesivir, which was already pretty much known that that was going to happen. But that is a good news story going into the weekend. All right. As far as there are day trades, if you want to get them kind of set up, we have BCS Barclays, YY is Joy Inc., a Chinese company, and then F5 Networks. And we'll come back to those in a minute. All right, let's check out the futures. We'll refresh these here real quick. Get this moved over so I can see it. All right, everything in the green across the board this morning. Let's take a look at Asia. Asia was mixed. China down over 1%. That's kind of a big deal. Europe was on fire earlier, and they still are. So again, nice big 1% across the board, pretty much move up here in Europe, and that's always good for our stock market. Again, they closed at 11 Eastern time. If you kind of think of when the European influence wears off a little bit. Here's yesterday's numbers. Again, VIX 28 or so. Here's the bond numbers continue to creep up towards that 1%. So we shall see if that continues. That would be a lot healthier than below 1%. Oil is above 40 and holding. That's good. And gold and silver both are creeping up into the election, kind of like we thought they would. All right, back to the U.S. and the big, obviously the big issue of the day is how'd the debate go? Who won? What are the big issues? All of that. And well, I'm hearing Trump won this debate, but kind of lost the war overall because he started to lose his cool towards the end of it. All right, I don't know. I don't know how many people are undecided at this point, or really the point of it. So it seemed kind of like a nothing headline to everybody that watched it. So who knows? Oh, there's the final debate. There's the won the war sort of thing. So we'll see. As far as this picture, I don't know who this pink guy is, but I don't worry too much about him. He looks like a weirdo. All right, dim sweep could hit tech and FANG stocks again. That's largely, the DOJ is looking into Google and possibly trying to break them up on antitrust concerns. So with that being the case, you would think certainly the Democrat, especially if there's a blue wave, would go after that quite a bit harder. If you hold these, it may hit the stock in the short term, but you go back to the 80s and Ma Bell, and when big companies get broken up, you make a lot of money with all these different spinoff stocks you end up with out of it. So Intel whiffed earnings pretty hard, and the earnings were down 10% earlier today. So we'll check back on that here in a minute. They went down too far. It would have been our short for today, except they're already short. They're already out of the range. So we'll take a look, one more look at that. All right. There's the FDA approval headline that we're going to be talking about here in a minute. Mattel crushed earnings. That's one of the longs. We're not going to take that one. They're already up 8%, but certainly something to look at. Gilead up 5% on the news. Shake Shack in the headlines, wouldn't touch them. Yeah, Halloween and the pandemic. I don't know what Halloween's going to look like where you are, but we're certainly not getting excited about free candy and being handed out in person and all of that stuff. So don't know what's going on with Halloween, but I'd imagine it's not going to be nearly as cool as it was in the past. Okay, that's enough of the headlines. So let's taking a look at a few of the names out there. So I threw two names out. These aren't mine. I went back, I Googled these, and these were kind of some consensus picks. Because it's what stocks stand to benefit if Trump gets elected. Well, he's already the sitting president. So it's kind of like they would have moved already, which I think is the case. But one name that was kind of beaten up recently because it got hit yesterday due to earnings is Crown Castle International. So they're a tower maker, if you will, the real estate for the data center REITs sort of thing. So This is 5G obviously is going to be something that Trump is trumpeting going forward. So I think it's a good name to be in, and it's a decent entry point, certainly if he wins. So when you look at Crown Cat, there's several others out there. So they're by no means exclusive. There's about 5 different tower REITs, they're called out there. But I like this one in particular. Entry point here, 3% dividend. So that's pretty good for real estate investment trust. And then over here, performance hasn't been really that good. So it's got room to grow. So, it bounced off of the lows in March and then kind of flatlined ever since then. So if you call that a channel, it's at the bottom of the channel. So not a bad way to get into that. The other name I want to look at is Gilead, which is up 4 to 5%. We'll check back on that when we look at our day trading stuff. But again, basically been crushed. Now, why I think it's a good entry point here is it's up to that 4.5% on the dividend. So it's getting a kind of an attractive dividend, if you will. It's going to be profitable, in my opinion, here soon. And when it does, when it returns to profitability, it's going from losing 24 cents to making $7 a share. That's pretty significant. So it just got FDA approval on this huge drug. They're going to obviously manufacture that as quickly as they can and as much as they can, and they're going to be rewarded with it financially. So I think it's pretty attractive entry point. This is more of a protect your money, defensive sort of play than it is thinking that the stock's not going to go from 60 to 120. Like many of the names that we're in, because that's why we're in those names. But it certainly looks like it's going to hold 60 till the end of time. If you wanted to day trade, this is a super safe day trade north. You can do that on your own. But yeah, I don't see it dropping really at all because it's so low already. So those are the 2 names we're going to take a look at on FinViz. Let's go over to Schwab. And I will show you. So the Trump names are across the top here. You've got CCI and GILD going across there. We got, let's see, Gilead and Focus over here on CNBC. It's always interesting to see what they're talking about. 7 minutes to the market open. For the Democratic names, what are names that are poised and what are themes out there that I'm going to be switching portfolios to if there's a Biden win, and even more so if there's a blue wave, right? So we'll talk about these real quick. Medtronic, it's the medical equipment maker. So obviously with new Biden care, if Obamacare you've probably seen a ton of that, in the mainstream media news, but heavy emphasis on healthcare, and Medtronic is an equipment maker that actually can make some money. It's the drug makers that generally get crushed and don't get to make as much money as they have in the past, if you will. Power is another theme that the Democrats are big on. So expecting companies like American Electric Power, and there's several other names out there that got hit back in March and recovered, but not quite to the same way that the tech names have screamed higher. So pretty good entry point there. One name that is kind of paused, this looks nice, I know, but it's really basically paused, is Alibaba from what it really should be worth, like 500 a share or so. Again, this is the Chinese Amazon. So the what's holding it back, as well as all the other China names, are if Trump does get reelected, we all think that he's going to go after China aggressively. And if he does, that's really going to hit the Chinese names. I will hold Alibaba through that. Other names that I'm in, I cannot, I'm basically out of them now already, waiting for the election. But if the Democrats win, that means we're right back into IQ, we're right back into YY, we're right back into KWeb, which is the tech fund, China tech fund. So there's a lot of names that are going to be attractive if Biden wins. And then the last one is marijuana. We talked about this a little bit a few sessions ago, but again, big agenda for the Democrats anyway, from a social perspective, but also from a taxation perspective. It's a good way to score some sweet taxes, right? So when you look at the marijuana space, people have been trying to get in here and it's just not working. So it's a really good entry point, if you will. Again, if Trump gets reelected, this I don't think will be touchable. I don't think we'll see. And if there would be a red wave, then of course you would not want to be in this at all. All right, so that's it. We got 5 minutes to the open. Let's go ahead and take a look at our 3 Long names, again, nothing. We'll just look at shorts here real quick to see if anything's popping up. I looked at eHealth earlier. It doesn't have the volume, and it wasn't a very attractive reason. Again, no volume here for MANH, and then nothing else. Intel's has fallen too far already, so kind of tough on the downside. And I'd prefer to short because those move faster, but not gonna get that. All right, let's take a look. Still see the CCI chart. Maybe that's an old comment. Let me try to make sure I'm sharing out the correct thing. And okay, looks good on my end. We'll see if that's the issue. All right, let's look at BCS. Get that put in here. This is Barclays. They beat earnings, so that's your headline. The reason I like it is low entry point. So again, you can use about a 10-cent stop here. So Q3 results, you can read that real quick if you want. You don't really need to. They crushed earnings. So there we go. Log out, log back in. Got it. Cool. All right. So they were at 550. They're gapping up to 586 or so. Plenty of volume. So nice entry point. That's why I like it number one here. And it's not flopping all over the place. You'll see that when we go into our chart here. So that'll be number one. Number two is YY. Put that in for you. This is a higher price point. So again, up at $80, gapping up to 86 there. There's no headlines with this. So that's the danger. I love it because it fits our model exactly, which means it's got like a 72% or whatever. I cranked the math to be chance of working. And I like that it's got more room to run. It was recently, above 90 here. So that's why it's number two. But expect you're going to need probably a full dollar point so you don't get knocked out of the trade. And then the last one we'll take a look at is F5 Networks. The name has been kind of beaten up recently. It is gapping up on an upgrade that it was given. So that'll be buried down here somewhere. They're upgraded to buy from neutral at MKM Partners. So nice upgrade. There's no volume in it yet. So this one you have to wait for the open. So pretty aggressive. If I like it, I'm going to snag it pretty quick. Otherwise, we'll pass on it and look for something else. So you'll see that there is no volume to it right now. All right. 2 minutes prior, let's go ahead and get set up over at TD Ameritrade on our day trading screens. All right, here's the SPY. We're bringing this. You see it's favorable going in, so that's why we're in longs. We'll take that to a 1 minute and zoom in. Barclays is already in here. We'll go 1 minute and zoom in here as well. I'm going to kill off looking at myself, so we don't need to see that. All right, and so there's Barclays zoomed in. I'll leave it here so you can kind of see where it's been. 1 minute there on YY. Not really liking that action all the way back down, so we'll reassess that when it opens. And then, like I talked earlier, F5 Networks does not have any volume, so we have to wait for the volume to roll in. So we'll see exactly where it is and whether we can take that or not. All right, getting my screens set up down below. So again, for stops, I'm thinking 10 cents for the BCS. That's my favorite. $1 for YY and $1 for F5. Going long so you can be in an IRA if you want. Make sure you do your math correctly for your particular stop, if you will. All right, 30 seconds to go. Welcome to the On Time On Target play of the day. We have 4 screens in front of us. On the far left, we have the SPY. That's the 1 minute chart. Futures are favorable going into the open. On the left middle chart, we have BCS. That's Barclays. They beat earnings, so we're looking to take them long. All 3 of these are longs. Nice small price point there at a 585. So you can grab a bunch of it if you're taking the trade. The right middle is YY. That's Joy. I don't like the move down, but then again, we're going to see what it looks like at the open, which you just heard the opening bell. And then F5 Networks over here to the right. It doesn't trade pre-market, so that's why you don't really see anything here. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see what, as the volume rushes in, we're going to see what's going on there. All right, this is curious with YY, so I'm going to look away from that for a second. BCS sitting here at 6%, so it's kind of the heart of the envelope for us, so I like that. See some profit taking, don't mind a profit taking all the way down to 5% or so. So I'm set up in BCS. What kind of volume are we looking at here? All right. Basically, with when they open down like this for a long, we just kind of want to wait. That's generally profit taking. So let it kind of continue to drop. Around the second, third, fourth minute or so, when it reverses, I would like to take this around 585 going higher. That's only 3 cents. It looks like a lot, but we're really zoomed in on this chart. So that's a little note for myself here. 585. Well, I kind of look over here. This has dropped 85 down to, this has dropped $2.50. I like this double doji at the bottom. It's 2% though, so can't really take that because it's not going to turn around and go higher. So again, waiting on BCS. So have your trade tickets set up for BCS. I think there's enough in it now to where 585 higher. That's when we're going to grab it, and then we'll set. Looks like we can use a 5-cent stop. I'll probably use a 7-cent stop. Well, we'll see how it hits this 585. So be ready to go. Generally with these, I'll use a 10-cent stop, and then I will refocus it down initially after I get the stop in. So again, waiting for BCS to reverse and go back higher. All right, what's going on in F5 over here? So got my left eye over here waiting on this entry point. Tempting, but not going to take it just because it's not close enough to the 5%. This one's not up at 5% either, so let's surf a little bit for a name or two. All right, see what Mattel's doing. That was one of these that was up. It's up 8%. So again, looking long here. Still ready to go with BCS. If it goes north of 585, we're taking it. Kind of flopping around a little too much for me in Mattel. Let's see. Sam is Boston Beer. They were up 9% earlier. Has not switched the chart yet. I said that was too coincidental. They're up over 10%, so can't really take it in. It's $1,000 price point per share. CVAC is a pharmaceutical on low volume, up 6%. Don't like that entry pattern. So again, I am liking BCS, but we have to be patient for it. So again, waiting for it to shoot north of 585, and we'll see on the stop. We might be, if this holds 581 several times, we might use a 5-cent stop. So nice aggressive trade. If you use a 5-cent top stop, basically it would have to only go up to the top of the screen to make our 3 Rs. So the market's getting some dojis down here, so that's a good sign. So if it holds and starts going back higher, that would be nice. Overall, it's basically flat with the S&P, flat on the NASDAQ, and S&P up 0.25%. All right, 4 minutes into the trading day, so a little bit late waiting for this thing to go higher, so starting to lose a little bit of excitement for it. Let's see go back to eHealth was a short, so now I'm taking a look at some short names. That was the big move down in eHealth. It's basically recovered. Couldn't take that short. Intel was down 10%. That's probably selling off. Yeah. It's gone too far. We can't touch that. MANH. down 3% or so. Not going to touch that. And then STX was Seagate Technology, was only down 4%. That's a good entry pattern as far as it backing up. And then you take it around 50-20 going south, not going to enter it here. All right, we keep hitting off that 581. So still 585 is the entry point long for BCS. If we see the market flip, that would be nice. And then again, we'd see BCS flip after that, and then we'd take it. YY basically lost almost all of its pre-market gains. So let's go to a name we know and see what's going on in Luckenworld. Not a whole lot in Luckenworld, and broke down below 581 there. We'll see. PLTR had Palantir, again, we got into this name not too long ago at $10, so pretty much everybody is in the red, which is not good. But they also are heavily involved, or they're taking credit for, tracking the COVID, what's it called, the tracing of who's in contact with whom, sort of thing. So they bounced a pretty decent amount if we back it out here. Pretty decent amount yesterday from 950 all the way up to 985 earlier this morning. So I'd expect to see them march back towards 10 here pretty quick. All right, let's check out the main board over here. Losing interest in BCS, so I am not taking that now that it's down to 580. So no trade today unless something jumps off the screen at me. So end up the week in the red. That's actually the first red week that we've had since I started this back at the end of June. But so be it. That's the way it goes. Not going to take a trade just to trade. Yep, Intel on the big board down 11. All right, let's go over to check out the other names that are out there. Okay, here's our chart. We have a couple of psychedelic names. One of them's up big. Northwest Bio in the green, BXMT, and you could use some green. It's been selling off hard. Raytheon is another. I mentioned, another theme for the Republicans would be the defense stocks, but don't see that necessarily they benefit any more than the Democrats. Democrats always like to look tough, so they do a lot of defense spending. So generally right after an election, that first year, the defense stocks do pretty well. All right, so plenty of names in the green there. Let's check out the red side. There's Intel leading the downside. Clickstream, Canopy Growth, that's a marijuana name. Helion, that's the old Shell, SHLL. Tesla, Luckin barely in the red there. Neo, Gilead, we didn't check on Gilead, so we'll go back to our day trading chart and see what Gilead is up to. They were up almost 5% pre-market, so they've kind of sold off as well. So this market kind of leaking in is not helping things as far as the long screaming higher. So, all right, 8 minutes into the day, let's switch over to our topic of FDA approval. So share that out to you here. And camera back on here. All right. So not really going to give you a PhD in FDA approval process, but where I am on FDA.gov, because obviously Investopedia is not going to help us out here. But basically development approval process. These are a lot of words. Good news. I have a chart next. So tune out on the words if you want. But there is a group out there called the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. That's a subset of the FDA, because the FDA does lots of things, not just drug approval. So this CDER is kind of the bosses of this process. And what it really means is they go through these steps. So it's for your protection. And that's why they go through, animal testing first. They can do an emergency release or an emergency path which is what remdesivir went through for Trump to be able to get it, and several others to be able to kind of opt in at your own risk. There's an official name for it, legal name, probably Latin, for you to be able to go in and get these drugs before they're FDA approved, if you accept the fact that, well, it may actually do more harm than good. But basically, it's all about risk management. And when you think vaccines coming to fruition, you're talking generally years, if not a decade. So that's why when Trump keeps saying, you heard in the debate last night that he said, we'll have a vaccine by the end of the year. It's like, well, that would be like crushing all-time records, right? For that to happen. And that wouldn't necessarily be a widespread vaccine. It would just be a targeted vaccine for those that need it. So there's the accelerated approval process you've heard about. And fast tracking. So blah, blah, blah. Let's get into the actual chart, because charts are good, right? So when you really look at the overall process, it's kind of 2 to 10 years from the whole, getting it to where it's even entering into the system. Then you can see how many years these add up by the time they go through R&D, your clinical trial, your FDA review, and then this is the FDA approval point where now it goes to market, right? So here's where we are with remdesivir, and I think it was less than a year. I mean, we've been talking about this since February, but the drug has obviously been around. It's just got repurposed to this particular use for COVID-19. So when I see this chart and, being military, having a military background, I always think in terms of management and leadership. This is a management chart. This is the super conservative. Here's how long it takes for all the resources and blah, 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 blah. Now, leadership can shorten that significantly, which it has in Trump's situation, has pushed the FDA harder than anybody has before. And that's true. So of all his claims, that's a true one. And so leadership is saying this needs to happen on an accelerated time frame, and you guys go out and do it. And so far they have. So, but there is more risk out there than people, when people see FDA approved, that's almost like the Diet Coke of FDA approval. It is FDA approved, but there's a lot of pressure on them to get it approved. So anyhow, a little bit of insight there. But when you hear of drug stocks, so tying it back to investing, when you hear drug stocks and you hear different phases that the stock's in, it kind of helps to know a little bit about clinical trials. Is a long way from the review, is a long way also from the FDA approval. So those tend to be good news things that move stocks, but not like super fast, right? So, all right, that's what I've got for you today. Thanks for checking in. Sorry we didn't get a trade, kind of bummed about that. Wanted a chance to get rid of that 2R, but you don't take stupid stuff just because you're trying to get rid of a stat. So we'll be patient and disciplined, and have a great weekend, and we'll see what next week holds. We'll talk to you soon.